call to order. Okay, perfect. We have the recording in
Yeah,
progress.
I actually want, since we only have four speakers, why don't we wait till just a few more minutes? We only have 20 people, only about a dozen, not even a dozen board members. I mean, yes, I'd like to get going, but
All right, I'll be right back.
okay. Yeah, let me
Let me
start this
start.
off.
Let me start, David.
I'm sorry.
I'll just begin very quickly. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our March budget hearing on the responses to our budget priorities. We value all your comments. My name is Laura Spalter. I'm chair of the board. Let me introduce our budget chair, David Gelman. David, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, fortunately, well, we have four people who have signed up. Typically, we try to limit folks to 3 minutes each. Please try to do that, but to go over a little bit, we do have a bit of flexibility, but we do want to leave a little time in case board members have questions or want to have discussions before our regular meeting at 7 o'clock. So Michael Greco from FDNY, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was asked here by a couple of the members of Community Board 8 and some of the paramedics and EMTs who work in your area. Let me introduce myself. I'm the Vice President of Local 2507, which represents the EMTs and paramedics of FDNY. So some of my members and some members of the community reached out because of some of the changes that is currently going on with EMS and ambulance matrix. So they felt that it was best to bring it to a community board meeting. And this was the suggested forum that I was asked to attend and bring it to light. Currently, EMS is embarking, when I say EMS, I mean the FDNY, they're completely revamping the 911 system. And we feel, the union, as well as some of the members who are in my union, there's really no oversight for them. There are communities that are going to be losing some coverage, and your community is affected. So I guess that's why they wanted me to reach out to Community Board 6. I mean, Community Board 8. You're going to have a paramedic bus that normally for past decade has been sitting on, I believe, West 234th and Broadway.
I'm sorry, Mr. Greco, sorry to interrupt. I want to be clear. Are you one, do you live or work in CB8? And two, are you referring to any particular budget items that OMB has referred to us on our submissions for budget priorities on the capital or the expense side?
To the first question, no, I do not live in Community Board 8.
And are you stationed within Community Board 8?
I represent Station 27. I'm sorry, and Station 19, which does sit in Community Board 8.
Okay, so to my second question, are your comments related to any budget requests that we've made or any responses from OMB?
I don't know. I don't know if you've requested any money to be allocated towards 911 response through OMB or the fire emergency budget.
Can I, if I may, make a suggestion? I believe we have space at the gallery session for our general board meeting. I think your comments would be more appropriate to that because the focus of this half hour is strictly on our budget request for fiscal year 2023.
Understood.
And if you have any policy issues that you think we'd be interested in, I think that the gallery session that's starting at 7 o'clock, it's only another 20 minutes away.
Understood. I will put myself back on mute and I would rejoin you at 7 o'clock. I understand time constraints for certain things, so I respect your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up is
David, can I make a quick just suggestion to Mr. Greco, because I'm chair of public safety and we are interested in your request. And I would say, besides the gallery session, if you could make any requests formally to the board that could be relayed to me, and we could evaluate it and possibly put it into our budget request for the capital and expense, that would be great.
You got it.
fiscal 24.
Like I said, I won't take any more time here. I'll wait for the gallery at 7 o'clock. I will leave my information. I will state what the issue is. And then if anybody wants to reach out to me and discuss ways to go about addressing an issue, I'd be more than happy to leave myself open to further questions from anybody in your community.
Excellent. I look forward to hearing them. Next up is Leslie Hogan.
Okay, thank you very much. The reason I'm on the board of directors of my co-op at 6485 and 6495 Broadway, and I've been involved with the co-op since 2001 in terms of being on the board. And the reason why I'm coming to you tonight in terms of budget stuff is because we have a tremendous problem on Broadway from 260th Street all the way down to Marshall Avenue when there are heavy rainfalls. The toilets of all of the apartments and all of the first floor apartments and all of the buildings on Broadway from 260th Street down to Marshall Avenue, the untreated wastewater from the sewers backs up into the toilets. And when we had the real torrential downpours this past summer, we had 4 inches of untreated sewer water in the apartments and the lobbies of our buildings. But it has been going on for many years. When I was the board president and Oliver Coppell was city council, I actually brought it to his office and was told that it would be too expensive for the city to take care of the problem now. Now that there is, the infrastructure bill has been passed. and there's
Ms.
money
Hogan,
coming in.
Ms. Hogan, I need to interrupt. In the same fashion, this budget hearing is specifically directed at the requests that we made to the various city agencies about 20 or about 30 capital budget priorities and about 25 expense budget priorities for fiscal year 2023 that begins July 1st. The city replied to us about a week or two ago and made various comments. And the purpose of this budget hearing is to have community input on them and for us to discuss them. I too would welcome your comments about these problems that are frankly, unfortunately, are not new regarding your building, but I would ask you to please wait till the gallery session at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So
You're
next up will be Tara McMaster.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tara McMaster, and I live at 5660 Sylvan Avenue.
Wait a minute,
And-
Tara. Excuse me. Excuse me, Tara. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
I'd like to make a comment as chair of the board. When we're having a budget hearing, it is important for the members of the public who wish to participate to have their 3 minutes to say what they would like about this budget, 23, or any budget, because it's a budget hearing. And maybe they didn't read the script, nor was it necessary to read the script on what the agency said about what our priorities were for 23. I will not be rude to any member of the public and ask them not to speak at a budget hearing on what they wish to speak to on a community issue. So, Leslie, please continue.
Laura, since you intervene on the budget hearing, the purpose of the budget hearing is specifically to address the OMB and the mayor's comments on our fiscal 2023 budget that begins July 1st. I encourage these two people so far to come back and speak at the gallery session for the community board, the March community board meeting that begins at 7 o'clock. That is the appropriate forum to discuss community concerns on general topics. And I do not want to interfere with their comments, but they're just not relevant to the budget hearing regarding fiscal year 2023.
You
I'm
haven't
sorry
heard
that wasn't
So you
made
don't know.
clear up front. That's why I asked for the list of speakers this morning. So Ms. Excuse me, Ms. McMaster, please
Yes, sir.
go forward with your comments about fiscal year 2023.
Well, I don't know if this applies then, because I was speaking about the Parks Department. Was that one of the agencies that you had wanted input about, or is that something that belongs in a different forum?
Parks, generally, yes. Do you have any specific comments about the requests that we made to Parks, or the Parks Department response to us about the capital and expense budget requests that we made for fiscal 2023? If you think that it does not relate to those budget items,
Yeah, I
again,
know, I'm in the meeting. Okay.
I don't know what the two budget items were, to be honest with you. My concern with the Parks Department budget being cut constantly and it needing to be a priority is because of Van Cortlandt Park, and also the fact that because of all the cuts, they only have one truck that monitors the trees, and we have a lot of outages and storm damage and blocked streets, and a lot of it during Bloomberg was outsourced, and the money is just not there. So although they did plant 1 million trees, there's been no maintenance. And and I've spoken to the Park Department. This is not a reflection on them. I don't want anyone to think that. They're underfunded on every area, and they are understaffed. And with the Van Cortlandt Park,
I'm on mute and everything.
It's a jewel of the Bronx. They need more programs. They have too few opportunities to engage the community. And if COVID taught us anything, it's that we need more open spaces with clean air. And again, their funding is cut every year, and it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. Those are the only two areas that I was going to speak on, but I know that the Parks Department itself is understaffed, and it's, again, not anything to do with their lack of work. There's just not enough staff and not enough equipment.
okay, thank you. Your point is well taken, and actually, I expect that during the meeting itself, that our Parks Chair will be discussing that specifically, and tangentially, we do address a couple of the things that you're talking about in fiscal 23. So we will make note of it.
Okay,
so-
thank you.
Thank you for your time. Finally, Deirdre?
David, my hand is up. I just wanted to really quickly comment on Leslie Hogan. Just that, Leslie, you should consider attending the ENS meeting, the Environment and Sanitation Committee meeting. The street flooding is very much on the part of the discussion, and we can discuss budget priorities there.
Thank you, Deb.
Is
The
Leslie,
point well taken.
excuse me, David, is Leslie still on?
It looks like it, yes. But Bob
Yes, I
Panuzzi is
heard-
not, so I thought I
I-
would.
No. Leslie, are you able to speak at 7 o'clock
Yes,
at the gallery to give your full?
tonight, yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
yeah.
Sorry
Okay.
for that interruption.
All right, thank you. So finally, Deirdre Burke, please, there you are. At least your tan background. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I guess this is deja vu all over again. I think this is the third, fourth, or maybe the 27th time I've spoken at a budget hearing. Looking at the city's responses, or the agency's responses to the board's budget requests, and keep in mind that I understand that when the board has a budget priority, it's not like the money is coming to the community board. The importance is to let those agencies know that this is important to the community. So if you go through the parks, and I guess I'm working with Tara, even though we didn't plan it. When you look through what's important to the community board, which reflects what's important to the community in terms of parks, and I'll lump things together. In terms of equipment, maintenance, and personnel, each response from the agency or the city is it's underfunded. And, apologies to Yogi, but deja vu all over again. It's about time that the Parks Department is not eviscerated, because it is our backyard lungs and everything that's important. And I know that I'm speaking to the choir, but I would hope that the city and the new mayor would pay attention to the fact that all of our parks, but particularly Van Cortlandt and the smaller parks, they were designed as high maintenance parks in the 30s, and they need staff, and they need machines, and they need supervision, and they need all of those things. And item after item listed on the responses is unfunded, not enough funding. And I think that it's testament to how poorly our parks are thought of by the city, by the agencies. And it's really about time. When you read in the New York Times every week how much money is wasted on all sorts of other things and how many people are getting $1 million salaries and our parks are going wanting. And, so that is a bit more than I wanted to say. The other thing, looking at the budget priorities in terms of street repair and DOT, before anything goes forward, any money is spent in the community board, the street repair has to take precedence. The curbs, people twisting their ankles, the potholes, the fact that DOT paves and paves so much that we don't have curbs anymore. The streets are not crowned, and I know it's reflected in some places in the budget priority, but we need to take a hard look at the day-to-day functioning of the Department of Transportation and their priorities in terms of what makes the neighborhood habitable. Anyway, thank you for your hard work. And I do appreciate the time to speak, and I'm sure I'll be back again whining about the parks. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you, Deirdre. And actually, I anticipate that during the meeting itself, I hope you'll stay around. I imagine you will. I believe our Parks Chair will be discussing a couple of those budget items. And specifically, I think he is going to present a resolution about our concern on parks budgeting in general. But that, we'll see that in short order. All right, so that concludes our.
David, I see a hand up.
Laura, thank you. That concludes our session on the public gallery session, but we do have 5 or 6 minutes. And I do see that Calder Orr has his hand up. Is it regarding our budget request, Calder?
Yes, it is.
I'm
Okay.
sorry?
Yes, it is. I'll be quick.
Okay, please make it brief. So
Just under the parks expense funding, we noted that you had gardeners listed, but we wanted, and other areas, we wanted to specify. I'm with the Stewards of Russ Park, and we were looking at a lot of need for structural repairs like rails, steps, and fences, and wanted to see if we could maybe make it more specific towards those kind of items and not just gardeners. And then also included training for park staff and invasive species control, which is something they've done in Van Cortlandt Park, but we thought it needs to be done in some of the smaller parks around the community board.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll be hard pressed to address that during in fiscal year 2023. But Ramdat, do you want to address this to see if you can reword or try to talk to Parks about that, or would you prefer to include it in fiscal 2024 as you do your budget planning this month? Budget request planning.
I think we can leave it up to 2024. What would you recommend?
I would recommend that because if it were a minor tweak of a word or three, I would say okay. But it's really a different request. And I'm not suggesting invalid. I think it's quite valid, but I think it should be part of the 2024 stream of requests. And I will discuss that process during the board meeting. But I would encourage folks to, frankly, attend all committees that you're interested in, and particularly this month, because the committees are developing their individual capital budget requests and expense budget requests for fiscal 2024 that we will be submitting in the next cycle. And you can help to shape that. It's a little hard to shape it now for 2023 because OMB has already told us what they can do and what they can't do, and trying to shunt us aside to go ask our council member to find the money that they can't. But that's a minor amount of editorial. Any other comments from any other board members regarding the budget for 2023 at this point, or the comments that were made earlier? Well, seeing no hands, I will conclude this budget hearing for fiscal year 2023. And Laura, I'll turn it over to you to start the board meeting. If you want, you may wish to have those speakers start early, but that's purely up to you.
Laura, you're muted.
I keep getting muted and I keep unmuting and I don't realize I'm muted and I'm talking away. I'll just wait another 2 minutes until it's 7 and then we'll start. Okay, so if everybody needs to take a 2-minute break, go right ahead.
Email. So now when I
Okay, I think we'll begin. To those of you who just joined, or if you've been with us, we've just concluded our budget hearing, and I'd like to welcome everyone and good evening. I'm calling the board meeting for March of Bronx Community Board A to order. For those of you who've just joined, I'm Laura Spalter, Chair of CB8. Before I commence with the gallery session, I would like to begin with a moment of silence to pray for peace and reflect on the dark times facing the Ukrainian people as they face the 13th day of Russian aggression. So please, a moment of silence. Okay, now, as always, we will begin with our gallery session. Up first, Jody Colon.
Hi, thank you, Laura. It's great to be able to address the full board on Zoom. Again, I'm Jody Colon. You may recognize my name or my face, but probably my voice the most from all of the virtual committee meetings that I've been able to attend. What I'd like to speak to you about tonight is to continue to offer a virtual opportunity once you return to normal, which is in-person meetings. The open meetings law has always allowed you to offer hybrid meetings. What you might not know about me is that I am a person with a disability. I have been for the last 10 years. And what everyone is living through with COVID is my normal. I avoid in-person, indoor spaces, crowds, and close closed spaces because of a medical condition. Some of you are like, wait, we've seen you in person, Jody. Didn't you have a job? Yes, but I would have to choose my community or my job or running errands over my health. And with COVID, I became well because everybody was living my normal. I don't want to be sick again. So I ask that you provide a front door experience of a virtual opportunity to engage in the meetings, the same as in-person people are. And I say front door because last night there was the most amazing conversation at land use about talking about why are we redoing an ADA ramp at the 50th that leads to the back door when people who need mobility devices should have the same front door experience as everyone else. So a front door experience for virtual is providing an opportunity where people like me who become ill when they are in these in-person enclosed spaces can hear what's going on, see what's going on, watch the same PowerPoints that everyone else is. It's not putting a phone on the table or a tablet or laptop with a microphone that you can't hear people at the back of the room. So I hope that you will make the small investment that it takes to get the equipment. We have the technology. Corporations and even the Riverdale Nature Preservancy has been offering hybrid opportunities for people long before COVID. So I would like to advocate for that. I hope you do it. And if for some reason you can't, I will miss you all very much because this month will be my last meetings unless I can continue virtually. So please let me stay healthy and not have to choose between my community and my personal health anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody, and thank you for all you do in the community. We will work very hard to keep our meetings as participatory as we possibly can. Again, thank you, Jody. Next, we will have Michael Greco from FDNY. Michael?
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me. My name is Michael Greco. I'm the Vice President of FDNY EMS, EMTs. So I represent the EMTs and paramedics of the City of New York. Some of you are members who work at Station 27, which I believe is in your community board district, asked me to stop by your board meeting to explain some of the issues that is currently going on that you might not be aware of. And it has to do with EMS currently revamping the 911 system, which we feel is with very little oversight. And that has led to some deletion of units, long-standing units. And I think for your community board, the most affected would be, we call it 27 Willie, but it sits on West 234th and Broadway. And that's a 12-hour truck. It used to be a 16-hour truck, and that unit is getting deleted. So they felt that it was worthwhile for me to come down and explain to your community that you are going to be short a 911 receiving ambulance that you've had the pleasure of for well over a decade. And that's a result of this overhaul of the 911 system done by EMS, which has not gone through any sort of evaluation from City Council or anything to that nature.
May we ask questions?
Yeah, I'm here to answer any questions.
Where in time is this movement? Because we haven't heard this, and so where is more information on this, and where in the process of change is it?
So the change is in public yet. That's what we feel is a problem. So there's two issues. One is the individual communities, and that's what I'm here speaking to you about, your particular individual community. And there's also the city as a whole. So this was done from contracts, and when COVID hit, everybody saw the news of different ambulances flooding the 911 system. So since that change, COVID, there was an emergency staffing level that went out throughout EMS, which means every single one of the employees of EMS had to switch to 12-hour tours. That in turn created some extra units with the absenteeism. and it helped create some units. Now they're going back to a normal status. So we were under the impression they were going to pre-pandemic levels, which would still include this unit 27, Victor. They decided through some program, it's called the MAP program, that the fire department runs, and it's on the EMS side. It goes back to the issue of no oversight. We don't know how to, we don't know, other than 2 people in the fire department who control this MAP unit.
And then I have to talk about you the way you talk about me.
It's called an optimization. So they, through a computer program, decided to optimize where ambulances go. And this program has spit out that certain communities do not need ambulances, that the units could be placed either somewhere else or just deleted altogether. And your particular unit was deleted. And somebody, I mean, I can read off the reasons why. I think you got 15 nursing homes in your community, and nursing homes are the highest users of ALS or paramedic. I'm sorry, I don't want to use acronyms, of paramedic ambulances. So that's what that's what your community has lost starting April 3rd is when this program goes into effect.
Wow. Thank you for this information. I see 3 hands, Dan and Chuck and Ed.
And Laura,
Dan?
after board members speak, may I also just provide input, because I've also been in touch with FDNY on this issue.
Well, Kira, why don't you say, make your comments now, and then we'll get to.
Okay, I'll be brief. So Michael Greco and one of the local paramedics from our district reached out to me. I added this to the district service cabinet meeting, which was held earlier this week. And FDNY has explained to me that these cuts are pre-pandemic, and we were given an extra ambulance during the pandemic for an increase of calls, but I've just learned a little bit more information from Mr. Greco here. And FDNY has offered to meet with me and Ed on this subject to get some more information. So Ed and I will take questions back to that meeting with FDNY after this. So thank you.
Thank you, Kira. Thank you. Dan.
Hey, Laura, my question was regarding Jody's issue. So if you want to come back after, I guess, Chuck and Ed.
Chuck.
Okay. Mr. Greco, I have to say this in advance. I am a member of the New York City Board of Collective Bargaining, and you know what we are. Now, if I weren't, I would have said to you, how come you haven't filed a grievance with BCB? But that's something you have to think about, because it clearly has an impact not only on the community, but has an impact upon your force, your workforce.
If I may, we are in the process of trying to file an injunction over this for
I can't talk to you about that. I have a conflict.
If
But
you
I also have an
could.
opinion.
We do have other avenues as far as union. And you are correct. There is probably 6 different avenues that we are going to fight this on our end. This is the part of the fork where the community needs to be aware of the impact of their division. And I'm only here because
See what the major advantage of going to community boards is? You find new friends every day.
And I love friends. But again, this is just like in any elected position. I have constituents, and some of my constituents live in your community board. So I'm here at their behest, that they are worried as well. Okay. So that's how I'm gonna, I want to isolate it to just that.
Thank you. Chuck, may I move on? Okay, so Ed.
Yeah, just briefly, Michael, I know we're gonna meet with Kira and go over some of this, but the thing that just jumps out at me initially would be, if this unit is gonna be deleted, what possible budget request, capital or expense, could we put forth to compensate for the deletion of this unit? And is that something that's been thought about, or is that something you want to just discuss at a later date with the district manager?
I guess the budget request, if this was possible, would be how to turn all units into a 24-hour unit, what would be the budgetary response that would be needed? So the way 911 works with EMS is some units sit and run 24 hours a day. That's why sometimes you'll see an ambulance sitting on the same corner all the time. And then sometimes you see one that's not, because that unit is only scheduled for either 2/3 or just half the day. As opposed to our counterparts at fire, there's no firehouse that runs 12 hours a day. There's no firehouse that runs 8 or 16 hours a day. They run 24 hours a day. So the ultimate goal of any 911 response should be a 24-hour staffing of the unit, that would be the budgetary request. And that would not only be from a community board, but from a borough and from a city in general, that what would be the cost to staff and hire and train units to be around for 24 hours a day. And that would be probably the budgetary consideration that you would need for something like that.
Okay, thank you. We can discuss that further. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Dan.
Hey, Laura, it was just in response to Jody's query, and I was wondering if the officers and our board staff can price out some of the equipment needed. I know, I'm certainly in certain conferences where you have the individual microphones and they have them spread out across a conference table for recording conversations, and even, video cameras are pretty cheap these days. So if we can just, if staff can price that out and come back to the board, since we are coming up upon, the June where we try to spend certain money, before the end of the year ends.
And I'm going to report on this in my DM report. So I'll have some answers to all of that when we get there.
Okay.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Good. Okay, so let me move on and Leslie Hogan. Leslie.
Okay.
Thank you, Leslie.
Yeah. I think I should
start again. Start from the beginning.
Start from the beginning. Okay. I am the secretary of the board of directors of 6485 and 6495 Broadway. And from 2001 until 2013, I was the board president. Okay. We have a serious issue with the sewer on Broadway, particularly between 260th Street south down to Marshallou Avenue, where we have tremendous overflow of untreated sewer water coming up into the toilets of all of the first floor apartments and all of the buildings, not just our building, but the other apartment buildings on Broadway when there is a torrential downpour, and the manhole covers of the sewers on Broadway explode up into the air. And I brought this to the attention of Oliver Coppell's office. When he was on the city council, I was told by his engineer that it was going to be too expensive for the city to do anything about it. Now that infrastructure bill has been passed by Congress and there is money coming into cities, this was the only place that I knew to start with at the beginning to bring it to a local level. What we did in our building was we hired a plumber to come into our building and to try to make an assessment of what could be done in our building if that would remedy the situation. And we have gotten this report from the plumber saying, after surveying an inspection of the building, we are of the opinion that it would be almost cost prohibitive. We feel that the city DEP should be responsible to replace the storm sewers in the street with larger sewer lines to accommodate the heavy deluge caused due to climate change. The flooding occurs up and down Broadway, which is indicative of a systemic problem in the street, which DEP should be able to resolve. And as I said, I have been told by the city council person in the past that it couldn't be done because of the expense. Now that the money was coming in this infrastructure bill, plus the fact that on November 3rd, the New York State voters passed an amendment to the New York State charter or constitution, whatever, saying that New Yorkers should be required to have a healthful living environment, and we don't. We have untreated toilet water coming into all of these apartments, and I'm coming to the community board as the most basic first step to request that how do you take this information to DEP so that somewhere along the line something can be done, because this is now contravening the amendment that was passed by the New York State voters who want a healthful living environment, but we don't. And we can't until something is done. And also it means that no further construction, no further construction can be made on Broadway north of Marshall Avenue, because that just adds to the sewer water that comes into the apartments on the first floor of all of these apartment buildings. So I'm coming to the community board basically to present this problem and to ask for what is the next step to take. Where do I go next? Do you have a DEP committee? I don't know. So I'm coming to you people basically for help.
Leslie, thank you. Definitely come to the Environment and Sanitation Committee meetings where flooding, combined sewer overflow, sewer sanitation issues are addressed. So this is very important, and thank you for this report. Thank you, Leslie.
Laura, may I? I'm on.
Yes, definitely, Bob.
Ma'am, I'm the chair of the Environment and Sanitation Committee, which is a DEP connected committee in the community board. What you're telling us is horrifying. I want to thank you for bringing this issue right to our doorstep and talking about the problem of sewer backup. In November, the November meeting highlighted this issue and how to report it. So please look at the minutes of November 2021. And we actually did a how-to about how to report it as to DEP. It's absolutely critical that they see that there is a capacity problem north of Mushaloo. This issue came up and it needs to be put in every single time there's a storm 311. And I recommend going on to 311 online, not with the phone, so you can identify there's options for sewer backup. Please take us up on this and we will revisit this. When it's on our agenda again, I will make sure you're invited and speak about your issue. I can't thank you enough for bringing this to our attention. It also militates the need for a moratorium on building in high flood areas in Community District 8, a moratorium, because whatever is being contemplated north of Mushaloo will exacerbate the problem that we just heard about. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Chuck, and then David, I see your hand. Chuck?
Yeah, so let me give you a different course of action as an addition and not as a deletion. If I understand you correctly, Ms. Hogan, the sewer water, untreated, backs up into the apartments, including in the toilets, which are located in the bathroom of the apartment, correct?
Yes, it does that. It comes up through the drains in the garage. It comes up through the drains in the laundry rooms also. And it comes up through the seams in the lobby.
It's more important for my purpose in the bathroom and the hallway.
Okay.
Because what you need to do is to have a complaint filed with the Department of Health charging a health crisis. And if you can document the fact that this is sewage, that it is in the apartment, it is a violation of state, federal, and local law to have sewage, public sewage, backed up. That's why you have these things in the summer where they stop the swimming at the beach. So somebody needs to, maybe Bob Fanuzzi in your committee can work with the health committee to try and get this to the health department so it can be declared as a health crisis. And then the hell with them, they supersede the budget.
Yeah, Chuck, thanks for that. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, and Omar, we'll definitely get together on that. Thank you, Chuck. David.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Ms. Hogan, for being patient and coming back to our meeting on this. This is really important. I'm surprised because this is not the first time we've heard about this. So I'm surprised nothing's been done. I think that what has been suggested by Chuck and by Bob are quite valuable. I do wonder if, and maybe Enzo can address this, whether this is something that should be addressed directly to our council member to have their leverage applied. And if Enzo, if you care to comment, this is pretty serious.
That's why I brought it to Oliver Copel 15 years ago, and he was a city council person.
No,
And was
I
told-
understand, and
Yeah,
you're absolutely right, but
Yeah,
I think you are well entitled to press the council member's office about this.
oh, yeah.
Leslie, that's good. And we'll send this testimony too. Okay?
Thank you.
We'll
Thank
definitely
you.
forward it. Very good. That concludes our galleries section. And next is report from the Bronx Borough President's Office. Is Ish here?
Hey, good evening, everyone. It's Ish
Hello.
Gonzalez, from Bronx Borough President's Office. I hope you guys are all doing well. I'll be very quick. As of today, as of Friday, excuse me, all of the community board applications, both reappointments and new applications, were due back to our office. If anyone experienced any difficulty in sending it over to our office or couldn't get in contact with our office, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help you guys with that. Also, for the current board members, the link for the annual sexual harassment training, you can expect to receive that within the next couple of weeks, maybe I would say in the maybe next 2 weeks or so. So once you get that, of course, you would have to complete that and forward the certification back over to our office. And lastly, our office, excuse me, is having an Irish American Heritage Month event, and that's going to be held on Tuesday, March 25th at 5:30 p.m. at the Rambling House in the Woodlawn section of the Bronx. So if anyone is interested, you do have to RSVP, but I'm more than happy to send that information out to anyone that's interested. That's all I have for you guys today, and thank you guys.
Ish, did you say Tuesday, March 25th?
Yes.
Okay. Tuesday is the 22nd, the 25th is Friday.
Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second. Yes. Well, it's the 25th. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know
No,
why.
Friday. The Rambling House is a great place to have. You've had, the office has had some there before. Thanks for the correction.
Yeah, sorry about that. Good catch.
And Ish, I'd just like to add for the board members that when for the sexual harassment training, we will be able to do that at home on our computers. And that once it's completed, we will get a certificate from the BP, and that certificate gets forwarded to the office. So that's the complete cycle on that.
Yes, 100%. And if I can just jump in one more time, and I'm so sorry, I just double checked on my email here. So it was Tuesday, but it's the 15th, not the 25th. Sorry about that.
Okay. Well, Thank you so much, Ish.
Thank you, guys.
Next is report from the 50th.
Oh, then Laura, can I just ask a question? I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead.
Okay, so no, that's okay. In the past, I just want to clarify this. In the past, if one did not do this training, you would not be able, a member would not be able to reapply or be part of the board. Is that, do you remember is that still the case? In other words, it's not just the training. If you don't do it, you're not going to be allowed to continue as a member of the board. Is that still the posture of the Borough President's Office?
As far as I know, yes. I haven't received any directive that's changed.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Indeed, it's in the application when we reapply for our reappointment letters as well. We sign that particular thing. But thank you for pointing that out, Rosemary. It always is good to be reminded of that. And I see Steve Fruit has a hand up.
Just a quick question for Mr. Gonzalez. Is this the same training that was presented in past years, or is the training updated or varied from year to year?
So I know sometimes it does take time for DCAS to really catch up and update all of their information, but I do believe it's slightly different than last year's training.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further hands, we'll continue with the report from the 50th precinct. Is Captain Gervin here, or a representative from the 50?
Good evening, it's Captain Florentino.
Hi, nice to see you.
Hi, how you doing, everyone? Hope everyone's doing good tonight. I was just recently assigned last week to this precinct. I'm happy to work with you guys. With me is actually Officer Conejo and Officer Ranchia, Community Affair and the Crime Prevention Officer. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I started off in 2006. I started in the 52nd precinct in the Bronx. I did impact there for six months, and then I put in for the 42nd precinct. I got to the 42nd precinct in 2007. In 2013, I was promoted to sergeant, and they sent me to PSA 5 house up in Harlem. I was there since 2013 to 2017, where I was promoted to lieutenant. And then they sent me to the 49th precinct. From 2017 to 21, I was promoted to captain. And I was briefly in the 4-3 precinct, and I just newly assigned to the 50th precinct. I'll give you an overview of the crime within the 50 precinct. And if you guys have any questions, by all means, just feel free to ask me. In the 50 precinct, for year to date, we have 28 robberies. Felonious assault, we have 30. We have grand larceny 103, and GLA's vehicle 45. Year to date, we have, including today, actually I was out there with my team, we have 7 arrests for GLA. My thing, so you, everyone out there, please just relay the message, and please do not leave any valuable property, visible property in your car. Do not leave your car unattended. Do not leave your car running and double park. That is actually a contributing factor to the citywide GLA situation that we're dealing with. I just came into the precinct with a GLA arrest, 3 people apprehended, and the vehicle was left actually unattended and running and double parked. So please, myself with the 50th precinct, we're gonna go to the media, basically with our Twitter, and we're gonna put it out there for educational purpose, you know, engineering, educating people, like do not leave your car unattended and so on like that. And if you guys have any questions, by all means, I'm new to the precinct, and I'm happy to work with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see, Steve, is your hand up from before or now?
Sorry.
Okay. Rosemary?
Oh, thank you for the welcome to the 50th and our community. I do have to ask, because you know, when you live in this community, you hear what's going on, and I want you to know, in my building, the back of the building, the front of the building, and 2 friends up in North Riverdale, within a month, 4 people have reported the exact same crime. Somehow they're coming in, jacking up the cars and taking all 4 tires and rims off the car and leaving the car with no tires and rims on the street. I've heard of 4 examples of that. I will not to make it to make it as hard as possible for these poor people, given the inability to get things in this day and age. It is harder for them to get rims and tires, okay? But can you imagine being left with a car with no rims and no tires? 4 instances in a month that I heard of. You're aware of this? Is there anything you can do to stop that?
I would definitely, thank you for letting me know, but I would definitely speak to the Special Operation Lieutenant and the MCO sector concern. And that's not the only issue. We have a catalytic converter. A lot of people stealing a catalytic converter. For some reason, they sell that in the black market for a lot of money. It's actually expensive, but I would definitely relay your message, and I'll be out there myself. It actually helped me out to deter crime out there and get to know the layout of the precinct. But I would definitely, I'll make notation on your complaint.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much. It's not my complaint. It's the stories I've heard. This is factual evidence that is occurring in the district. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. David?
Yes, thank you. Captain, you're new to the precinct. It's not clear to me what your role is as community affairs, XO.
I'm executive
can you elaborate?
I'm the second in command with Charlie Gervin. He's the commanding officer. I'm the executive officer, and I will be working hand in hand with my community affair, my crime prevention officer. And I like to be out there myself. You know, it helped me out to deter, like I mentioned before, to deter crime out there and get to know the people, the community, and just to get involved with the community.
So you'll be the XO like Captain Gervin was before he was promoted to.
That is correct.
CO. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ed, your hand is up, and I want to put a plug in for the Public Safety Committee. I see there are a lot of hands and a lot of issues, and I'm going to encourage everyone to attend public safety. Bring your concerns, email the concerns, we'll forward them to Ed. So go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I just wanted to welcome the captain and say I'm Ed Green. I'm the chair of the Public Safety Committee, and we welcome and appreciate your experience. And I look forward to working with you. And I know this possibly coming March meeting could be our last Zoom meeting, so we probably are going to be meeting in person soon. And I just wanted to welcome you and thanks. And I see you got two terrific officers there behind you, so that we love them. So
Very good team. Thank you, Ed. Chuck?
Captain, the two terrific officers behind you will have heard this pitch of mine before. But since you're new, I'm just going to call it to your attention. Johnson Avenue has those wonderful outdoor restaurants which no one attends in the winter on one side, and double parking and triple parking on the other. And if you're very lucky, you may actually get through there. Would you please have a sector car go through there regularly and tag everybody who's double and triple parked, please?
Not a problem. I'm going to speak to my traffic safety sergeant and my traffic safety team. And like I mentioned before, it's all about educating people, get to know the people, and everyone double park the first time. If you don't mind, I would definitely ask the motorists, do me a favor, just find a legal parking spot, you know, because at the same
Today
time.
I saw a car lose its mirror because another car went alongside of it, came too close, took its mirror right off. That stuff is tolerable, not good, but tolerable. If somebody gets hurt, that's intolerable.
That is totally unacceptable. Thank you for bringing me that complaint up to me and making me aware of it. And I would definitely direct my traffic safety team to address that condition. I would definitely, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. That will be our last question. I see a hand up, but Joseph, at this point at the board meeting, the public doesn't have the opportunity to ask questions. I encourage you to email your question or comment to the board office, and we will forward it to the 5-0. Okay, so thank you. Next is my report. I want to bring everyone's attention to the article that appeared in last week's New York Times on corruption. It was the focus of the article was the African American Program Commission Incorporated, which is the vendor, the not-for-profit that has partnered with the Department of Homeless Services to for the homeless shelter proposed for 6661 Broadway. The article focused on corruption, fiduciary violations, nepotism, conflict of interest, millions of dollars spent. And this was, of course, upsetting And we, on December 23rd, I wrote on behalf of the board, a letter to the Department of Investigation with our concerns and about AAPCI. And not realizing that since 2017, they have been on the radar of the Department of Investigation. So we, on top of this new expose, I wrote a letter this week to the mayor, CCing all the elected officials.
Real guns or like?
Excuse me, somebody has to mute. Okay. In this letter, I pointed out our concerns with the corruption, with the past exposés, with the model, the problems with the model of that's really warehousing, not housing, and the lack of transparency and, other issues, and that we request that the mayor, in light of all this expose and corruption, shine a light on this and oppose this contract being approved when and if it goes to the controller's office. So at this juncture, we can safely say the contract remains at the Mayor's Office of Contract Services, MOX. It has not gone to the Controller Lander's office. At exec, there were some issues with, the fact that it's not registered, and in order for a not-for-profit to collect any money, a contract must be registered formally by the controller's office. And it was raised, can they spend money anyway? Can they go ahead and buy the property, which they are in contract for and have been in contract for many months? So I sent a letter to Mr. Pulo at MOX, basically asking if there's any way that AAPCI can move ahead anyway. And I'll read you his response. Mr. Pulo from MOX said, we're not able to discuss selections and or awards that are under review. No surprise there. We can say that contracts are not valid until registration by the Office of the Controller, and all vendors eligible for award must be determined to be responsible. And that I hear a hopeful note for us. And then he added, it would be inappropriate to discuss the deliberative review of any city vendor. So at this juncture, we could say about the shelter, it is basically on hold, is being investigated. The AAPCI is being investigated, and we will stay on top of the situation and hopefully get a response from the mayor, where we asked him to step up here and make an example of his office, cracking down on corruption, using this as an example, we hope. Okay, that is my report, and I'll turn it over to the Treasury's report. Joy. Oh, I see one question, one hand, I'm sorry, Marty.
Yes, at the LRE meeting last month, we talked about the hearings held on concerning the street cafes and sidewalk cafes. And we have time to discuss it in the board before it goes back to the city council. I was just wondering if you thought about which committee ought to be looking into that.
Well, it could be T&T because it's Department of Transportation. It could be Economic Development. Because it involves all the merchants, the businesses. So why don't I circle back with you on that, Marty? Let's think about that, and I'll talk to the chairs.
Fine.
Okay, good. Any other hands? Okay, I can't tell now because the screen has got the Treasury's report on. So Joy, you got the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the Treasurer's report for fiscal year 2022 March. The budget is little changed from last month, except that the December mod finally registered. And as previously reported, that delay was caused because the mayor's budget took priority. For item 1, personal services, the board has spent $89,034 to date. Other than personal services 1.1, we've spent $9,421 to date. There are no budget mods for March, item 1.2, but we do expect for next month's budget. Item 1.3, there are no requested funds this month, but there is $6,253 in encumbered funds. And item 1.4, this is our rent and energy bill, which is separate from our standard community board budget. And one thing about the PEG that had been discussed last month, the program to eliminate gaps, the mayor's budget did not call for that, but as previously reported, we do have a cushion of $30,000, so we're prepared for that contingency if it happens. And that's the treasurer's report for March.
Thank you. I can't see, okay, now I can go to, Rosemary, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I know as we approach the end of the fiscal year, Joy, that when the community board wants to buy something or purchase something, you need to get it in at a certain point in time. You can't do it on, June 25th. It's too late to do it. We are now headed into, it's my hope that we'll be moving into the new office. And of course, everybody knows we have to pay for the move. We ourselves have to pay for it, which can be expensive and who knows. So my question is, with the amount of money that remains in the budget now, do we have a plan or a need or a program to purchase items that we would need for the new office? Does my question make sense? You understand what I mean? Do we have a list of things that we need to buy now while we have the money before the time runs out in this fiscal year? Okay, that's it. I think, I hope I'm clear in the question.
Rosemary, I can certainly answer that, and I've talked with Joy and our other officers on this subject. So we're starting to prepare a list and go through our list from last year and previous years of what we need supply-wise year after year and what we need for a new office space. As you know, the past 3 years, we've bought new furniture, new computers, new phones, so on and so forth. I'll get into it in my DM report, but we are looking at new equipment. And yes, you're right. We have to purchase and receive everything by June 30th. That's why we're going to be proposing a budget modification next month to shift some funds around to be able to buy, additional furniture, new technology upgrades, and different things like that. So it is something we're exploring. We talk to DoIT at this time of year to see what's new out there in the tech world that community boards are buying, and we need any Adobe Pro upgrades, different software equipment. So it is definitely something we're talking about right now.
Thank you, thank you, Kira, and the importance of that information, thank you, is that next year, you're gonna have to pay for the move, which is something community boards are just rail against, so we have to pay for our move. So to the extent that we have money to spend now, I'm speaking to the choir, I'm glad you're doing this, thank you. I look forward to seeing you to next month, thank you.
Thanks.
Which segues right into district manager's report. Go ahead.
Sure. So I'm going to be very brief here. Please refer to the exec minutes for a full report. Happy International Women's Day and Women's History Month to everyone. And I just want to focus briefly on in-person meetings, moving to a hybrid model, what that means for us, what we're working on in the office. So number one, this is all moving very quickly. We haven't had much time well, we've had 2 years to prepare for this moment, I guess. And, it's always been in the back of my mind. I just never really thought we would get there. But here we are. We're working diligently to get physical locations for our meetings. So that's my first priority. It's not easy. We've gotten a few, but we are also getting no answers from a lot of places. So it's been a struggle to get physical locations for the board to meet, because board members will be required to be physically at a meeting. Regarding the hybrid model, I'm fully committed. I know the officers are fully committed, the staff, to figuring out a hybrid model for our meetings. I think Zoom has been very good to us at Community Board 8. We went through a lot of trainings 2 years ago. It's worked out for us fine. I really would like to continue using Zoom so that the public will be able to observe our meetings, committee meetings, full board meetings, so on and so forth. I'm currently exploring different options, trying to see what other community boards are doing, if anything. Working with other boroughs. A lot of the Bronx community boards are deciding not to do a hybrid model. So I'm kind of going outside of the Bronx to see what's going on there. Different city agencies have hybrid models. So I'm just kind of exploring that right now. I am asking for your patience and understanding. It's going to have growing pains. It might work. It might not work in the beginning, and we might have to change something. And we do have a lot of equipment that we bought previously. We have camera, tripod, laptops. We do have those recording microphones, Dan, that we bought pre-pandemic that we never actually got a chance to use. So that's something that I'm going to be working on with the staff, and I will be training committee chairs, committee vice chairs on how to use that and how to set up meetings. As you know, a lot of the event spaces and our venues don't have Wi-Fi, so we have to figure out a personal hotspot, and it's just a lot of different moving things. Unfortunately, we lost Joe Coluccio at Do It, who kind of walked me through a lot of these techie things. He left Do It. So community boards are sort of on their own right now in that aspect. But again, I'm fully committed to figuring this out and to have a hybrid model so that the public can continue to watch our movies and have access to them when they're recorded. If this is something that you have an expertise in, or work or have a successful hybrid model in your current place of work or school, please reach out to me offline. We don't have to take up time at the board meeting, and I'd love to pick your brain and get your experience. So thank you. And again, it'll take time and practice, which we got through the Zoom training 2 years ago. I'm confident we'll be able to get through this together. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to remind people that it took weeks of the office doing trainings, weeks to get us on Zoom. And it's going to take time. Please be patient as we work through all the different kinks as we move forward here. It will take time, but we'll get there. I see Camelia and Ed and Myra. Camelia.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to share with Kira and with the full board what other Bronx boards have been doing for quite a while now. Is actually doing Facebook Lives of all the Zoom meetings, or a majority, or for sure the full board, and some critical meetings where they knew there would be a lot of public interest. Of course, this is only sort of partially interactive in the same way as Zoom, but it definitely secures more access from the public to the proceedings themselves. And I'm thinking of people like Jody that would not come to in-person meetings, but she would still have the video and audio feed and actually be able to follow in real time the proceedings of community boards. Another issue to consider, Kira, is that I don't know what are the legalities around it, but Zoom has been amazing in the sense of allowing us to record video and audio. So if a person would miss a meeting, they would be able to ask you for the recording and you will send it right away. So the person would actually be able to have recapture the entire experience of the meeting, post-meeting, which is absolutely amazing. I don't know, other Bronx boards were doing this before COVID, the actual audio recording, but please inquire if this will be allowed, because again, Zoom has been tremendously valuable to us in actually pointing to issues and being able to fully record the proceedings above the regular minutes level. And just to wish you good luck. Hybrid is a mess for everybody that ever tried it. So let's hope somehow we will get ourselves together to make it work.
Thank you, Camelia. And just so you know, one of the reasons I love Zoom is the recording. We get many people asking for the recording a day after a meeting. And a lot of you may not know this, but we have always recorded our meetings as much as we can on tape recorders. Pre-pandemic, that was always made available in the office for people who needed it. But Zoom is just so much easier to share a link if we need to.
I see. I'm going to try to keep our questions brief because it's 10 to 8. I'd like the meeting to close at 9. I failed to say that in my chair's report. If we could just keep our comments brief. Ed, then Myra, then Rosemary. Ed?
Camelia said so many good things, and that I was going to touch on a lot of those, but one of the, we kind of keep asking, what are other community boards doing? What should we do in terms of making this a hybrid meeting? I personally feel, in light of how well this experiment has worked, it's time, like some of these old rules are arcane at this point. We found a better way, so to speak, because community input has been that much greater. It's made these forms more accessible to people with disabilities, et cetera, et cetera. So my question would be, can our local authorities or our government or whoever is the creator of these rules be lobbied by our community boards, by whatever powers that be, to actually change the rules on some of these things as far as in-person is concerned? And that I guess that's for Kira and whoever to work out, and but somebody needs to come to
From your mouth to the governor's ears. We will continue to lobby. We've lobbied from the beginning, and participation has been off the charts, for the public, for the members. So absolutely. Ed, I want to move on if possible.
All right. I just want to know
I'm not going to be able to get through all these questions.
With the hybrids, with the other community boards, why are they resistant to it, Kira?
Can that wait till another day?
Yeah, and I'm happy to go into it. There is a lot of back and forth and not much
Because it's very
support,
difficult.
on this. Yeah.
And you know what? The chairs are going to be responsible for picking up all the equipment at the office and returning it immediately and learning, having to use this so it works. There's a lot of training and a lot of issues involved. It's not easy like it is right now. It will not be that.
If anyone wants to reach out to me directly, I'm happy to speak more on the subject. It's something I've been focusing on day after day.
Myra?
Yeah, so I just want to put this out there. A source of stress of everybody is in regard to going to meetings in person,
Yes.
which I is inevitable, and I'm really fine with that. But the source of stress is getting home. Okay, I don't have a car. There's a bunch of us who don't have cars. I don't like begging for rides to get home. I would like to be able to go to a meeting and know that I'm going to have a ride home. So
I think
that's
we'll all
all.
be working on that. We'll
Okay.
all be working on that. Absolutely. We'll on carpooling. Thank you, Myra. Rosemary, and then Dan, and then I think we have to just move on, or we're not going to finish tonight.
Well, but we all have things to say, Laura, okay? And I want to say, at the beginning, Kira and I never even knew what Zoom was. Kira got us into it and got us up and operating. We are in good hands when Kira is trying to set up a new system to allow people outside to participate. And of course, we're going to have to be there in person. Anybody who has a problem, do not fret. You're in good hands when Kira is putting this together. Kira, thank you in the past and thank you right now.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Dan.
Oh, hi, thanks, Laura. Hey, Kira, I know you've been to Borough Board, and they've got a pretty good setup, how they run with their equipment. I'm not sure if the mics and such are the same ones, but it's probably a good system to mirror what the BP does.
Yeah, we have, unfortunately, the BP has a lot more money to live stream and record their meetings, and they meet in a consistent place each month.
Yep.
We're not that
So-
lucky, but yes, we have, we've worked with them on purchasing our equipment and sort of copying what they have, similar to what they have.
So our equipment's very similar to the BP's then for us? Is, and
It's
portable as
newer,
well? Newer.
so it
Oh, it's
should be
newer.
better.
Oh, even better. Okay, great. Is it portable ours or is it meant for kind of the board office?
No, it's portable, but
Excellent.
again, it's like a
Excellent.
whole little suitcase we have to schlep around with us, which is fine. And again, we had bought it right before the pandemic, so we never really got a chance to use it or test it out, so.
It's okay. I'm used to the big speaker and that screen, so I'm sure the suit
Yeah.
will be okay. Thank you.
Exactly.
It's good to hear. It's good news. Thank you.
Mhm.
Report from the New York City Department of City Planning. Anyone here? Okay, roll call.
Roll
Rob.
call. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sylvia Alexander,
Present.
Constance Barnes Watson,
I think I saw her.
okay, I think so.
I'm here.
Bob Bender,
Here.
Kelly Buford,
Present.
Chris Calhoun,
Present.
Joy Campbell Privateer,
Present.
Sebastian Chitalapoli,
Present.
Courtney Dastis Galvin,
Present.
Lisa Dowd,
Present.
Margaret Della, Margaret Donato,
Present.
Paul Ellis,
Present.
Dia Morris, Estanio Bell, Moses Asemia,
Present.
Bob Fanuzzi,
I'm here.
Nick Fazio, Steve Fruit,
Present.
Dave Gelman,
Present.
Rosemary Ginty,
Here.
Julia Gomez,
Present.
Ed Green,
Present.
I'm here, Osvaldo Jimenez. Osvaldo Jimenez, sorry, I underplayed that. I saw him earlier, we'll come back. Oh, was that him? Myra Joyce,
Present.
Bob Kaplan,
Here.
Chuck Merdler,
Present.
Ted Morris, Omar Murray,
Present.
Dan Paternick,
Present.
Tracy Pardo, Karen Pesh, Rita Proctor Lowe,
Present. Present.
gotcha.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure it was on.
Yep. Julie Reyes,
Present.
Georgia Santiago. Georgia Santiago,
I saw Georgia.
yeah, so
I
did
saw
I.
her.
Georgia Santiago,
Present. I'm present.
okay. Ramdot,
Present.
Laura is present. Camelia,
Present.
Deb Travis,
Present.
Stephen Vasquez,
Present.
Sergio Villaverde,
Present.
Marty Walpoff,
Present.
and I'll just go back to Osvaldo Jimenez. No. Margaret Della. No. Nick Fazio. No. And Dia Morris, of course not. Okay, because, okay, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we begin our committee reports, if there's no objection, I would like to move land use to the first committee report. Chuck has to leave If there are no objections. Okay, not seeing any. Chuck?
Thank you. I'll try and be as brief as I can. The first order of business is a resolution adopted at last night's Land Use Committee meeting. I apologize to you for it coming to you as late as it did, but it happened only last night and took time to put together. By the way, I noticed there's a typo in the first whereas clause. It's missing an S at the end. That building has been before us on 3 occasions. And we have talked with the architect, and he has indeed made a number of accommodating changes. Originally, it was entirely a railroad apartment, namely, in order to get to bedroom 1, you had to go through bedroom 2, et cetera, et cetera. That is one change that he did make by providing instead for hallway. There are 2 other issues as to which members, the majority of the members present, voted that they wanted those to be conditions of any approval, and they are stated in the resolution. If it's all right with you, you can either just look at the resolution which is up there, or I can answer any questions you might have.
Camelia has her hand up.
I believe Camelia has a hand.
Yes, Chair. Yes, thank you. So Chair Moeller, if I may just ask for a clarification as far as to sort of the expected process. So when we say be it resolved, Land Use Committee approves the application on condition that, and there are 2 conditions, are we expecting this applicant to sort of come back to us to confirm that they fulfill those 2 conditions for a 3rd time they would be in front of us? Or sort of what means do we have to like enforce or check this versus a regular approval that is a regular approval?
Regular approval is straight across the board. You say yes. There were reservations on these 2 issues, and they are stated as conditions for the Board of Standards and Appeals to consider. The hope being that they will condition the grant on these compliance with these requirements.
You see, the Board of Standards, not us again. Basically, we pass the conditions on for the Board of Approvals for their consideration. Is this correct?
That's where this goes.
Yes,
That's
thank you, thank you. Got it.
I can't see any hands when this is on the screen.
All right. Then let me move on to 3 other matters. One of the items on the calendar last night, to my surprise, stirred a fair amount of questions, and they weren't foolish questions either, involving the 5.0. The 5.0 is contemplating some changes to comply with the ADA provisions of law, and they would involve entrance and exit. And we had a plan put forward, or the outline of a plan put forward to us by the Department of Cities or Construction Services, and a schematic showing what was contemplated. It turns out that there are issues under that plan. One issue is that people who have wheelchair accessibility problems and people who have walkers, because of the parking in the side alley, if you will, have to cross a gutter, a drain of some sort in order to go through, and their wheelchairs and their walkers could get stuck. That led to a discussion of why is it you don't provide a ramp at the front door and just let people have access at the main entrance and make it entirely easy to do. With that in mind, the matter was put over for a month to permit discussion between DCAS and the 5-0 to see if things could be done to accommodate that approach. Apparently, it had never been considered by DCAS or the 5-0. So we'll see where that goes, but I wanted you to know it was considered and that was a problem. Whether the city will spend the money for the ramp is another matter, but it's an issue. There are two other issues I want to talk to you about quickly. One, at the last meeting, I told you that with the recurring stag comments already starting to pop up on Riverdale Avenue, I thought it was appropriate to have a working group deal with that issue, and that group has been appointed. It is Marty Wolpoff as chairman, David Gelman, and Mark Gotthof, who is a non-board member, who is president of the co-op immediately adjacent to it and has been photographing what's going on there from day one. So he is probably the most factually cognizant of what's going on there. So that's that committee. Mark and Marty have been talking. We're going to have a meeting of the various working group members sometime next week or the week after, so we can lay out a plan of action. But we'll see if that helps provide additional policing of this stag site. The second is a more long-term issue and a very serious one. The governor has announced that she is supporting a proposal effectively ending all zoning districts that are for family use only, for one-story family houses, and that she proposes to do that. The first response has already come from the Borough of Queens. Opposition, they believe that there are some neighborhoods, regardless of racial content or population, that need to have, and people want to have, single-family homes. And the abolition of those not only forecloses an aspiration, but doesn't do a damn thing for anyone. But in any event, this is a serious proposal. It's a long-term proposal, would have an incredible impact on communities like ours. And therefore, I have a working group on that, which will consist of myself, Rosemary Ginty, and Julie Reyes will start working on it. Julie has unique qualifications for that and anything else, I might add. And so we'll start looking at if there are others in the community who have a need, just let the board office know if they want to participate in that. While on that subject, Mr. Calhoun, last night at the Land Use Committee meeting, a young lady from your Marble Hill area reported that there are some serious issues arising in terms of new construction, including construction by Timbers, which has done such a lovely job with the Villa Rose and other parts of the Bronx and Riverdale, that need to be looked at. Since you are our resident expert in Marble Hill, I've asked her to get in touch with you. And if this becomes something of magnitude, I think we're going to have to focus very heavily on it. We've had 2 applications involving the area in the last year alone. That's more than we had in the preceding 2, 3, 4, 5 years. All right. So if you could keep an eye on that, that would be much appreciated.
You got it, Chuck. Thank you for the accolade.
Thank you. And that, I believe, does it for us. Our next meeting, I believe, is April 4.
Chuck, are we voting on that resolution, or did I had to run to the
Yes.
restroom for 2
Yes,
seconds?
yes,
Did I miss that?
apologize.
Okay.
Thank you. You caught me and you got me good. I deserved it.
Bob has his hand raised.
Well, I had my hand raised for exactly the question that Laura just asked.
we moved off the resolution without ever voting on it.
Bob, you're right as well. Madam Chair, can we go to a vote? I move the resolution.
Yes, now you're voting on the entirety with Part A and Part B.
Well,
of your-
a single
In other words,
resolution.
at Landscape, I
it's
understand you
one-
did it separate, but now it's on the entire resolution.
Correct.
Obviously. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Is there anyone opposed to the resolution, land use resolution? Okay, is there anyone abstaining? I don't see any hands, so we passed it unanimously for BSA.
Thank you very much.
Rosemary's hand is up. Rosemary, is that an abstention?
No, it's a
okay.
question. When is the Board of Standards and Appeals hearing on this? That's my question.
The last week of March. I have to check. I think it's the 28th or the 29th and 30th. I can send you an exact.
Thank you.
date. Yep.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kira. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as we get the two pieces of legislation, the governor's bill and the city planning commission proposal, which I would have hoped we'd have the courtesy of a report from the city planning department and a representative present tonight. We will get it distributed to all of the members of the committee. It is of vital importance that you look at both of those so that you familiarize yourself with them to the maximum extent possible.
Okay. So thank you, Chuck. Kira, you have that vote. And before we move on to our next committee report, I would like to introduce our council member, Eric Dinowitz. Eric, you have the floor.
Thank you, Laura. Good
Okay.
evening, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. I know the last thing that was spoken about was Zoom. I will also say that this board, among probably any board in the whole city, I would say, did a number of trainings on Zoom before they even had their first meeting. And the first full meeting went incredibly smoothly because of how well things were planned beforehand. I have the utmost faith that whatever model comes next, you'll be prepared for. But in the past, we have, I've signed on to letters fully supporting extension of the changes to open meeting laws to allow for remote access to these meetings. It's budget season, so I've been around, my office has been around all around District 11 in the past few weeks so that we can solicit feedback about how you want to see discretionary dollars allocated. You can fill out the district funding feedback form if you go to ericdinowitz.nyc/budget feedback. Additionally, summer youth employment. So part of the budget isn't just discretionary dollars, but the whole big citywide budget. And something that we've gotten commitments from the mayor from that we came to an agreement on are more summer youth employment jobs. So if you are a youth looking for summer employment, I encourage you to apply. And if you are a business and looking for an employee, a free summer employee, to get a free worker, but also more importantly to provide youth in our community an opportunity to work, you can reach out to my office or you can explore the website to find more information. We've been hosting multiple webinars over the past few weeks. Our most recent ones were fire safety and a Know Your Rights town hall about for students with families of children with special needs. And ensuring those students receive legally required services and busing. These are available online. You can go to ericdinowitz.nyc/fire safety for fire safety webinar and ericdinowitz.nyc/KYR town hall, stands for Know Your Rights. Our next webinar is a RAT Academy training. That's Wednesday, March 23rd from 5:30 to 7:30. That's going to be at ericdinowitz.nyc/RAT Academy. You can learn about rat prevention techniques. You can join, you can tell your building management superintendent about it. And we're raffling off 10 rodent-proof bins to those who attend. Food security is a big passion of mine. So we're continuing our Nourish program for older adults at Vladeck Hall in the Amalgamated. So this is open to any older adult, not just those who live at the Amalgamated. And last month we grew our members to 40. We hope that number grows. The next distribution is this Friday, March 11th, from 9 a.m. To noon. Reach out to my office for more information. And just lastly, on some legislation, we know the situation in Ukraine is atrocious, and so with my colleague who was born in Ukraine, we've co-introduced a resolution, standing in solidarity with the Ukrainian people, making that statement through the city council, through the city government. There's also legislation that I'm currently drafting related to hate crimes, legislation around 311, making that system better for us, and around legacy admissions in our private universities. All of this information, any tools you need, resources, I always include them in my e-newsletters. So please sign up at ericdinowitz.nyc/newsletter, ericdinowitz.nyc/newsletter, and also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ericdinowitz.nyc. And that, I think I kept it under 3 minutes, right, Laura?
Yes.
I
Get
think
a
I
gold
did.
star, Eric.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck, your hand is up.
Yes.
From before?
Eric, you mentioned fire safety as an issue. Let me just tell you one fact, which the one advantage of age is that you have experienced and you have learned something from it, hopefully. In the 60s, when the Bronx was on fire, one of the things that we did in city government was to extend a program, which is still, the basic program still ongoing, under which fire department personnel not on duty go ahead and use their time, instead of being in the station, to go out and do fire inspections of buildings. The program goes on now for commercial buildings. It has been discontinued as to residential buildings. If they had done those kind of inspections in the building in the Fordham area, you would not have had, or might not have had, the problem of the same magnitude, because they would have seen that the doors were not in a proper position for fire, and other circumstances. It was discontinued for economic reasons. But if we have the money to worry about a bunch of other things, fire safety, to my mind, is at least as important. And you might give some thought to reinstituting that kind of thing. The firemen, for doing that, get extra contractual pay. All right.
I can certainly, no, absolutely. And that is one of the benefits of having people who have been in city government or been in the city and kind of know the way things work. And that's certainly something we can look into more, especially as it with regards to the budget. Just to add one thing, what Chuck's referring to with the self-closing doors, that the law is your doors have to close automatically. If your door is not self-closing, like when you leave it, when you have it open and it doesn't close on its own, you have to call your building manager, your landlord. They are legally required to fix it so that it closes on its own. And if they don't do that, obviously 311 and my office can help. One other thing, I think you're voting for the second time on the Bill Stone street co-naming today.
Yes.
And I just again, as I did last meeting, want to throw my full support behind that co-naming. We went into it last meeting. What an incredible man he was! How much he gave to this community, and so I fully support that co-naming.
Thank you. Great.
Laura, may I make my second point to Eric? You mentioned also the butchery and savagery of Russia vis-a-vis the Ukraine. Let me add an extreme position in that regard, and that is you might consider that the city of New York declares the residents at the UN session up here persona non grata. They are persona non grata. They represent a butcher And that butcher should be punished in every possible way.
Thank you, Chuck. Camelia, your hand is up.
Yes, Laura, just to quickly alert you, we have actually among the participants a representative from the newly elected controller's office. His name
Yes,
is
I'm gonna get to
Greer.
that.
So just wanted to flag that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I was just waiting to do that. We have a new liaison from the controller's office. I've already been bugging him to death, Kira and I. Greer Mayhew, Greer, you're on the call.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you. Yes, I'm Greer Mayhew. I am the new Bronx Borough Director for the Comptroller. I do have one quick update. The Comptroller and along with the Mayor released recommendations from their nonprofit task force. This task force was convened to determine, try to figure out better solutions to give money to nonprofits. There have been, for like many years, nonprofits have been complaining about the different steps that have been hindering them from getting their money. And that is released and it's on our website. And I will put that in the chat for everyone. Other than that, that's it. I will put my information in as well for anyone's information and, to reach out to me for anything.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Greer. We'll be working very closely with you. We also have a
Laura,
representative- Yeah.
this may be a good time to call to Mr. Mayhew's attention as representative of the control of the problem on Broadway. One
Oh,
way.
we
of
have
having-
Chuck, we have sent him our letter to Controller Lander. We have, the second, if it ever goes to the controller's office, he will be on the phone with us, all right?
Yes,
we have
I just
briefed-
want to remind you, nonprofits do not render dividends or the like. They just, in some cases, exceed their authority by going ahead and engaging in nepotism. And this is one example.
Yes, no, thank you, Chuck. We've had long conversations about that.
Definitely. And just for everyone's knowledge, the Comptroller is aware of this. And so this is on his radar as well.
Thank you. Very good. Very good. We have a rep from the DA. I don't have a name, but thank you for joining us tonight from the District Attorney's Office. Very good to, bring all our issues back. Okay, don't see right now. So
You send him, Laura, the package, the DA, the
Eric
package.
Sawyers.
I see. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, sir.
Are you referring to me from the DA's
Bronx
office?
DA
Or are you
rep-
referring to my colleague Carlos Torres? I'm a little
Are you
confused.
both representing the DA's office?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, well, welcome. That's all I want to say is, is welcome. Okay.
Laura, can you send the package that you sent to the Department of Investigation on Broadway to the DA's office so that they
Will
look
do.
at it as well?
Oh, will do. Send tomorrow. Okay. Thank you very much. I think we can move on to our.
Eric's hand is up.
Eric?
Hi, there's a lot of background noise. Someone can mute themselves. Just regarding the Comptroller, I didn't catch what his representative said, but I had breakfast with the Comptroller the other day after the New York Times article came out about AAPCI, and he is 100% fully aware, because I made sure he knew, that the organization, the nonprofit that is trying to put a shelter in North Riverdale is the very same one that's under investigation that was featured in the New York Times article. So this is very much on his radar.
Excellent, excellent. We also CC'd Controller Lander and other elected officials, our BP, and we have the link to that article just in case they need to review it again, and the link to other things that we focused on corruption, and this is an opportunity to make a bold statement from the new administration. So we'll see what happens there.
Yep.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Eric Sawyers, Bronx DA, I see you have a hand. You have a,
Yes, I just wanted
Introduce
to
yourself,
say
yeah.
something really quickly.
I
I've been
hope so.
attending, yes, really quick, I promise. I had already sent the flyer for the upcoming 5th annual Bronx Child Safety Fair. It'll be on Saturday, April 30th, so we still have enough time. It'll
Okay,
be
we'll
at
post that.
PS5. All the details and everything else I already sent to the district manager. But if anybody has any other questions or anything like that, they can reach out to me via email, or Sierra also has my email. So if anybody gets in contact to her, she can relay the info to me. So I'm just happy to be here, and I hope I didn't take too long.
No. Thank you, Eric. And I will send a packet to your attention tomorrow for the district attorney.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Very good. Okay, great. We're gonna circle back to health, hospitals, and social services. Okay, Omar. Omar, are you muted?
Laura,
no.
I'll text Omar, but you may want to just move on.
Yes, okay, that's fine. We can always come back. Is Ted here tonight? For housing?
No.
Okay, we'll go to Marty, law, rules, and ethics.
In view of time, I will very briefly just note, we meet next Monday, the 14th. Prime subject will be the discussion of potential guidelines, a draft of guidelines for operations of our meetings. That's it.
Thank you, Marty. Ramdot, Parks and Recreation.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I won't go into the report. I won't go into my report. The minutes were sent around. So at our last committee meeting, we did have an idea. The committee had a shared sentiment that we should draft a resolution on the proposed preliminary budget from the mayor's office. So first things first, just to give you some background, the mayor's preliminary budget allocates $49.5 million, which is a proposed $63 million cut to the Department of Parks and Recreation. And as you know, Parks, DPR does not have a capital budget, and majority of the budget that is allocated to DPR goes to operations, maintenance, personnel, etc. And we recognize that the Mayor Adams campaigned on increasing DPR's budget to 1% of the total city budget. And all 5 borough presidents are in favor of this 1% budget allocation. And this 1% number came from a long advocacy campaign by New Yorkers for Parks and other advocacy groups. So that's how the 1% allocation number came to existence. And at our committee meeting, and which was also echoed at this gallery session, was the lack of personnel and maintenance due to inadequate funding for DPR. And one of the committee members did mention that because of the lack of maintenance and maintenance of the parks, then we lead to more capital funding needed for capital projects in these parks. So the committee drafted this resolution, whereas I'll read the therefore. Therefore, it be resolved that Parks and Recreation Committee of the Bronx Board 8 calls on the City Council and our City Council members to hold Mayor Adams to his pledge to devote 1% of the budget to parks, to the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Okay, we have a resolution. Are there any discussion on the resolution?
I see
Rosemary.
Rosemary's hand.
Okay, I'm sorry, you calling on me, Laura?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. So I just want to say, I'm going to abstain on this resolution. I think the intent of it is perfect. Of course, Parks needs more money. They've been underfunded. They've been disrespected in the budget process without a doubt. But this resolution, I am concerned about it, that the focus, there's too much focus on the mayor he's been in office for 2 months and 8 days. And if you look at the half dozen whereases and therefore be it resolved, the focus is on the mayor. He campaigned on 1%. As borough president, he said the following: be it resolved that we are asking the city council to hold Mayor Adams to his pledge. I have to tell you, I think it's the wrong message. If we want to go for money for parks, I'm all for it, but I'm not into blaming the mayor. So I'm going to abstain on this resolution. Thank you.
David and then Dan.
Yeah, just a minor comment. Rhonda and Kira, just to make sure that the wording matches your verbalization, devote 1% of the budget to the Department of Parks and Recreation, because it just says to parks.
Yeah, it should say Department of Parks and Recreation.
That's all. Thank you.
Ramdot, you want to, any other changes on this? Please just send it back into the office tomorrow.
Yep, I will
Okay.
do.
Dan.
I guess my concern is just the budget process itself is both, city council and mayor. It's not just the mayor putting it out, it's the city council approving. I agree with the sentiment. I agree that, more money should be on parks. I just, maybe a more positive resolution would be in store. So I agree with, again, sentiment, yes, but I think I'm going to abstain as well for that reason. I just prefer a more positive message for it. Thanks.
Bob Bender.
Yeah, well, as the resolution says, that the mayor campaigned on a specific pledge. I think it's not unreasonable to ask him to hold himself to that pledge. But more importantly, the process right now is that the proposed budget by the mayor is under review by the city council. And exactly as Dan said, the budget is determined by what the mayor proposes and what the city council then proposes in return as it reviews it. So that's why the be it resolved clause calls for the city council to take action now and to respect the fact that not only the mayor, but all of the borough presidents have endorsed the principle of 1% for parks. So I certainly respect those who, for whatever reason, feel they should abstain, but I think the resolution does exactly what it should do in addressing the next step in the process of approving the budget. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further hands, I think we'll call the question. Is there anyone opposed to the resolution? Please raise your hand. If everybody could lower their hands. Lower, Bob, your hand is still up. Okay, so if anyone is opposed to the resolution, please raise your hand. We'll take a minute. I don't see any hands. If you are abstaining, please raise your hand.
Okay. We have Rosemary, Lisa, Osvaldi, Dan, Kelly, and Marty, and Julie Reyes.
Okay, so you have that recorded?
Yes.
Okay, so the resolution carries, everyone else approves. Okay, Ramdot, anything else as part of your report?
No, that wraps up my report. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to Ed, Public Safety.
Hey, everybody, I'm going to try to be brief. Okay, so we have 9 resolutions for SLAs, the liquor licenses. We have 6 renewals, 2 new applications, and 1 method of change operation. Hopefully we can just vote on this in one fell swoop, but I'll briefly go over what they are. The renewals are Welcome to the Family Coffee Shop located at 219 West 230th Street for wine, beer, and cider. That's a renewal. Also a renewal for a full liquor license is William E. Irvin Jr., American Legion Post 774 located at 3035-37 Corlier Avenue. We have for renewal for a full liquor license, Riverdale Diner located at 3657 Kingsbridge Avenue. We also have for renewal full liquor license, Kari Dodd Restaurant located at 135-45 West Kingsbridge Road. And also for renewal, we have Van Cortlandt Park Golf Course located at 115 Van Cortlandt Park South. And also for renewal for wine, beer, and cider, Monomore Coffee and Wine Inc. located at 234 West 238th Street. We have the two new applications are for Savor. Okay. We have Yokomo located at 216 West 242nd Street. We have a new application for Savor Coffee and More Inc. located at 3725 Riverdale Avenue. It's a new application, but it's for a temporary retail permit only because the business, the process would take approximately 3 months for them to get the new application. So they wanted to go for a temporary, so they could start business quicker than that. And the last one was for a method of operation change to extend the hours of operation from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. and add live music. And this is for Magoo's Inc. located at 6697 Broadway. Every one of these applications that came before our committee, representatives of NYPD's 50th precinct stated that they were unaware of any prior notable disturbances or complaints that could be attributed to these establishments specifically. So that's it. And I guess we're going to call a vote on this. I'd like to just do them all at once unless anybody has anything, objections or anything.
I don't see any hands, and I think we can all drink to that. Okay. And is there anyone opposed to these liquor licenses or renewals? Okay, I don't see any hands. Is there anyone abstaining?
Laura, I will be abstaining on Yokomo.
Okay. Kira, do you have that?
Yeah, but we were doing them all.
Who is
together.
that?
I'll have to separate Yokomo then.
Okay.
How's that? With the exception of Yokomo.
Who is that phone number attached to? I'm sorry.
Sorry, that's Margaret Donato.
Okay.
With the exception of Yokomo. Is there any, let me do this again. Is there anyone opposed to the 8 with the exception of Yokomo? I don't see any hands. Is there anybody abstaining? Okay, so that's unanimously approved. Now we're talking about Yokomo. Obviously, Margaret, you're abstaining on that. Is there anyone else abstaining or opposed? Okay, so then you've marked that vote, right, Kira?
Yeah, we have one abstention for Yokomo.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Margaret. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. I'll just wrap it up by just saying, I'll refer the board to our meeting, to our minutes for the details. And our next meeting is going to be on Tuesday, March 15th at 7 p.m. on Zoom, maybe our last one on Zoom. So all are welcome. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, traffic and transportation, Deb.
Hey there, everybody. We have one resolution for this evening, which is the second vote on the naming. Kira, do you have the resolution?
I do. I X'd them all out. So just give me a second, Deb. While you introduce it, I will pull it up.
All right, I'll cover all the other important stuff, which is our next meeting is March 31st. It's been moved forward one more Thursday due to St. Patrick's Day. It may be in person, so we will be providing those updates as soon as we know. See our meeting minutes for any updates from our last meeting. At the next meeting on March 31st, we will have a presentation from DOT safety improvements to Riverdale Avenue from 254th Street to the city line at 263rd. So likely including a bike lane. I think it's a 4-to-3 conversion with a bike lane. So I expect that there will be lots of opinions. So folks should come out and we can talk about it. I see a couple hands. Do we want to? Is that regarding?
Yeah, while she
the
puts
resolution?
gets the
I
resolution.
have the
up.
resolution ready, but I think these two hands
No,
are
no,
probably
you just
about
wait.
the bike lane.
Yeah, why don't we just do this while we're on that topic? Okay,
Okay.
Lisa and then Rosemary.
Great. Hi, Deb. Could you let me know, I mean, the Riverdale Avenue plan has been discussed for a while. Could you let me know who has been in touch with DOT to put this plan together? Anyone on our board, anybody in organizations in the community who has been helping them to refine the plan? And when will we see the plan?
I'm not aware of anybody working specifically with DOT. We can ask them when they're at the meeting. And Laura has asked them repeatedly to get a copy of the plan and has restated it in many very polite ways. And we still have not gotten a copy of the plan. We're hoping to get something before the meeting. And as soon as we do, we will distribute it.
Yeah, I've also reached out to the elected officials to ask them to get the plan. Very, very fast. There is a history to this. It started in 2016 with what was then the North Riverdale Merchants Association hiring a consultant who did a traffic study of Marshalloo, Broadway, and Riverdale Avenue. And that's where this plan first surfaced. Then subsequently, letters were written by Main Street Alliance asking to look at Riverdale Avenue. There have been, requests for it from basically those groups. So there is a history that goes back. I actually think as an equity issue, there are much more other areas of Community Board 8 that should have safety plans and should have studies.
Can we
That's
defer
my-
discussion of this
my
until
opinion.
the plan is presented
Yeah, Rosemary, next.
at the committee?
Okay, thank you. My question is similar to Lisa's. Do we have the plan? When is it coming? But I'm going to go a little further. Lisa asked, and the response was, you are not aware of whether groups in the community have seen it or have copies of it or have been presented the plan. I would suggest, don't have to do it, I would suggest it would be good to reach out to those groups and say, have you seen it? Can you give us a copy? If the agency won't give it, if there are institutions or groups in our community that have seen this plan, then the community board should have it. And I, for one, would like to know if that is the case. And if that's the case, then we should have it. So I go one step further than Lisa Deb and more step further in your answer, Deb, okay? Does somebody in this community, any group have it? If you don't want to, that's fine. I think we should ask, do they have it, and get a copy? Thank you.
Okay. So we can go back now, the resolution.
All right, Carrie, if you have it. So this resolution was voted at the last meeting. At the last meeting, one additional whereas was requested, and so we added it, which is just simply to state who the folks were who had spoken in favor of the nomination. So that is the whereas that's right here in the middle of the screen. Whereas the street co-naming has been endorsed by River Spring Living / Hebrew Home at Riverdale, Riverdale Jewish Center, Bronx Developmental Disabilities Council, and the Interagency Council of Developmental Disabilities Agencies, along with additional endorsements from former Community Board 8 chairs Martin Wolpaw, Charles G. Mordler, Robert Fanuzzi, Dan Paternak, Rosemary Ginty, current chair Laura Spalter, and City Council member Eric Dinowitz. So at that, I will turn it back over to Laura.
I am so delighted, and I can't wait for this to go to the City Council and for us to be there physically at the street naming. And again, we're very, very grateful that this has been brought forward, and thank you to everybody who did. And that's, anybody else have anything to add? Thankful to Dorothy and Linda for their persistence as well, and for all their hard work. Okay, so is there anyone opposed to this resolution? This is our second vote. We're mandated to do this. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, passed unanimously. Very good. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Actually,
Laura,
Margaret.
I'm sorry, we have Margaret Della abstaining.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that hand. Okay. Any other business, Deb?
No, that is it. Our next meeting is March
Okay.
31st, 7 p.m.
Thank you. And by the way, if we are meeting in person, then we will be meeting at St. Margaret's Rectory, St. Margaret's School. Okay, but details to follow. Youth, Julia.
Good evening, everyone. I refer you to our last minutes. Our March meeting is not a meeting, but it is a resource fair. We have lots of people coming to explain the work that they do and the services that they offer. So I encourage everyone to attend. And that is it. If there are any questions, I'd be more than glad to answer.
David, no, I thought I saw a hand. Okay, see no hands. Thank you, thank you. Looking forward to that event, Julia. Aging, Dan.
At our last meeting, we had a speaker.
Yes, I'm sorry, just one question for Julia. Is it on Zoom or is it in person? I'm sorry, I missed that. I apologize.
Kiara, please keep me honest, but I believe it's on Zoom because it's not actually a meeting, it's a resource fair.
Okay,
Right.
okay, thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay.
Okay, Dan.
Yes, at our last meeting, we had a speaker from Live On New York talk about ageism and reframing the way we speak about, aging within New York and within our communities and using more neutral terms. I do have some materials which I will be asking the board office to distribute that the organization gave us. Our next meeting is next Monday, the 14th. Our focus is going to be on racial equity issues within Bronx Community Board 8, as they specifically relate to older adults within our community. We're going to move forward with budget requests as well. And that's our report.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
David, budget.
Yes, thank you. I guess this is our sort of the bridge month. As you are aware, we just had our budget hearing where people commented on the mayor's budget. We will be, Laura, Kira, and I will be talking about what kind of response we can make in the next week or two, and we need to get back to them in short order. And that's for fiscal year 23, sorry. And in terms of fiscal year 24, which we will begin on July 1st of next year, we are in the throes of the budget cycle. Every committee should have had at least 1 or 2 discussions in January and February about their capital requests and their expense budget requests for fiscal 24. Except for Housing's meeting last week, no committees have met yet this month. So every chair should be sharing with their committee members their individual lists for capital expense requests for fiscal 24. That should be sent to the committee members for their meetings this month, so that they can, each of the committees can establish a prioritization of those lists it should be by the end of this month's meeting for each committee, so that next month the committees can decide on the final prioritizations and get them to the office and to me by April 20th. And then from there, we will be able to work with the executive committee to start to put together an overall prioritization for Community Board 8. If you have any issues with taking the sample list that I sent to each of the chairs and customizing them for your individual committees, please feel free to call me, or if I can help you at all to go through this process, please do call me. But it's pretty straightforward, similar to years gone by. And that's about it. Thank you for your indulgence, for your participation earlier in the hearing. And again, please call me if you need help. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Nick, Economic Development.
Hey there, thank you, Madam Chair. This is Moses Seba. I'm going to be stepping in for
Perfect.
Nick here. Yeah.
Thank you,
For our
Moses.
for our committee updates. Good evening, everybody. So our last meeting was on January 24th. Just ask everyone to please refer to our minutes for additional details there. A couple announcements from our side. The Entrepreneur Assistance Center, EAC, they're going to have their first graduation ceremony on March 10th, Thursday. So that's exciting. It's going to be on Zoom. Anyone who wants information on that, please feel free to reach out to us or to the board office, and we can send a link to that ceremony. Just want to note a quick thanks to Randy Norfleet of EAC for putting together on that great program for Bronx entrepreneurs. So shout out for that one. We are going to start accepting nominations for the Betty Campbell Adams Award for Most Valuable Merchant. You guys maybe remember that. We've updated that the last couple of years. It's definitely an exciting process. The nomination period is going to run from April 1st to May 1st. Nominations are going to be available through the board office, so we'll get more details on that coming soon. And then we're going to have the vote in May, and then winners are announced in June. So it's all happening within the same year before we go on break. Definitely want to push out for. We're already getting great nominees. Want to push out for more nominees. Hope to have that coming soon. Big announcement just generally that we called out that the restaurant, bars, fitness centers no longer calling for check for proof of vaccination. That's a big shift in the city. And so that's now really private firms can opt to continue to maintain that. So it's something we're going to talk a little bit more about in our next meeting as well. Another quick one is that there's initiative to speed up the process for SLAs to the new business in the hospitality sector to get those up and running. That's a big push that's happening with the city now. Of course, they were hurt really hard in the last pandemic. And so we talked about that in our last meeting. There's going to be a little more discussion on that in our next meeting. Speaking of our next meeting is going to be on March 24th at 7 p.m. No meeting for February. It seems like that's going to be in person. So we're currently researching potential locations. This is our first one in a while, so we're trying to figure that out. We'll get that information as soon as we can to folks, but the time is still going to be the March 24th. We invited, as we usually do, we'll have a small business report, invite a lot of folks from the community, and so definitely encourage folks to come out if you can. One of the things we're definitely going to talk about, don't worry, I don't forget, David, we're going to discuss the budget items at that meeting as well. So we send around a link around for our committee members, so folks can update that so we can actually have a discussion on that budget meeting there. And generally, one last thing, just to shout out, for those who are interested, there is a Cannabis Control Board meeting, one that occurred in the last month that Camille was able to attend, and we're expecting a interesting update from her in the next on our next committee meeting. So anyone interested in that, please do plan to attend. There is another one, I understand, that's coming up in the next month. And so if the folks are interested in attending that, please reach out to us at the board office for information around that if it hasn't already been sent. But if you are interested to hear what the last meeting was up, please do show up to come to the meeting. And with that, I will hand it back to you, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. Thank you. I see one hand, Rosemary.
Moses, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. I'm not sure I did. Are you saying that the law concerning the outdoor cafes has been passed? That's like a done deal? I'm sorry, I maybe I misunderstood. Did you say that?
No. Good question. No, so what I was referring to specifically is that they're no longer required to show proof of vaccination. So I was referring to the restaurants, the bars, the fitness faculties. Yeah. And so that is part of the mayor's announcement. That's done. And so we just got to keep that in mind for our vendors and our community board.
Thank you. My mistake, Moses. I was kind of lumping it up with the outdoor cafe issue.
No,
Thank you, Moses.
definitely
Thank
makes
you.
sense. And we've had, no problem, we've had folks come talk about that in our committees before. I think we're still planning to have another discussion from Consumer Affairs as well. I'm not sure it's on the next meeting, but I'll confirm that. But yeah, this is still very much evolving, even though that dynamic, even though they seem to want to kind of move past the community voice at this point.
Thank you.
But I think
Thank
that's
you.
all my fault. You got it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Camelia? Yeah.
Oh, no, okay. Yeah, no, just to clarify for Rosemary, no, Moses was absolutely correct. Rosemary, what was canceled was the key to NYC, the checking of vaccination status for indoor dining. That is what's canceled. But also to add, if anyone is interested in the proceedings of the Marijuana Control Board, it's March 10th. So in 2 days, they will have a meeting again at 1 o'clock. And the information is on their website. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia, Education, Libraries, and Cultural Affairs.
I refer you to my minutes of February 22nd. I hope everyone has seen them. The next meeting will be on March 22nd. I don't know where we're going to be. That will develop as we go along. I just want to mention that the letters to the principals as far as their needs for the budget have gone out. Their deadline is March 11th, so they still have a little time to respond. I do want to mention that the mayor's control of the schools, the deadline is June 30th. The governor is very hot to continue it for 4 years. There have been some discussion on less years to give it an opportunity to evaluate and see where it's going. But she's kind of set on 4 years. So I guess there'll be more information as we go along.
Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia. Seeing no hands, Bob Fanuzzi, Environment and Sanitation. Bob, are you muted?
See him.
Bob Fanuzzi?
It was RF earlier.
Right.
Yeah. I
Hey,
don't
you
see
can't hear me?
RF anymore either.
Hello?
Now I hear you. Bob, is that you?
Yeah, I
Gotcha,
don't know
we
what
gotcha.
happened. Yeah,
Okay.
thanks. Refer to my minutes for our discussion of the budget. We're focusing on flood mitigation in Riverdale and in EJ areas, Marble Hill, apropos of our discussion earlier, and Kingsbridge. So I also just wanted to thank Kira for picking up on a really problematic dumping pattern that's emerged around JPR. There are cars, vans abandoned, and in addition to constant garbage. So we did have the community affairs officer from sanitation for the city of New York, and we were outraged that our reservoir would be really a place for people to dump cars and sit there. So we got that taken care of. So we did a little on the spot problem solving. We're not meeting in March. We'll be back in August, in April to finalize our budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Coming up next, special
Bob,
committee.
Laura, can I just ask a quick question to Bob?
Yes.
Bob, the dumping of the cars, is it in a rather secluded area? Because I know that there was a big problem for many years way out beyond sort of the way to City Island, the Pelham Bay area, that we used to see every Sunday morning new cars that had been stripped because there were no patrols. My point being, are these secluded areas that really need more police patrols?
I'll drink to that.
David, there won't be, we have asked for 50 police patrols in the area. We'll step that up. Deb, can you identify the area again that these vehicles are being dropped off? Isn't it
Yeah.
near Harris Field?
So it's it's actually all along Golden Avenue in the southern end of the reservoir. So it's in regular parking spots, David. So they're not like joyridden
see,
and then
I see.
dumped. They're just parked all along the reservoir, primarily on Golden and at the southern end of the reservoir.
Okay.
Thank you. It does make you
Thank
wonder
you.
about the level of patrol, but thank you.
We're on our special committee on Hudson River Greenway. Bob, any comments?
Yeah, we're still planning to meet in the spring. It's a little more complicated now that we will have to plan to meet in person. So I don't have any specifics, but I hope to have that at the next board meeting.
Thank you. Special Committee on Racial Equity, Margaret.
Hi, good evening. We had our meeting last week, Thursday. We had a discussion on the Russian regime's attack on Ukraine and the sort of the conversation, obviously how upset folks were and connecting that situation and the anti-Semitic rhetoric, anti-Black rhetoric that we were hearing as a false reason as to why this attack took place, and connecting that with local, first of all, that it's an upsetting issue in and of itself, and just expressing our concern over it and our opposition to it, commenting on what took place in Riverdale, the rally in front of the Russian mission, and then I'm being very brief here, but then also connecting that rhetoric with local hate crimes that we're seeing, and so what can we be doing certainly to take action where we're seeing anti-Semitic language,
So what do you wanna
graffiti,
do?
anti-Black. Excuse me?
Somebody mute themselves. Okay, I'm sorry, continue, Margaret.
So anyway, what we can be doing locally, we had a couple of speakers. I want to thank Rabbi Bob Kaplan, who came and spoke, helping us talk through actions that we can take long-term fix over a short-term, or long-term fix on a long-term problem, and things that we can be doing against hate crimes and involving the community and having this be more of a conversation outside of insular issues. We also had a conversation on the New York Commission for Racial Justice. There are a number of proposals on the ballot in November, and our next meeting will be the first Thursday in April. Thanks.
Thank you, Margaret. Let's move on to Special Committee on Veteran Services. Sergio, any report?
Thank you. I'll refer everyone to our prior minutes. Our meeting is to be announced, and one of the things that came up recently was that Manhattan College is recognized as one of the top 10 institutions supporting veterans. So the committee will take up to see if there's some appropriate way for the committee board to recognize that and encourage that behavior. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Discussion of Executive Committee minutes of March 2nd, 2022. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing no hands, do we have an approval of the board meeting minutes of February 8th, 2022?
So moved.
Okay, all right. A second?
Second.
Okay, anyone opposed to the minutes? Anyone abstaining? Okay, unanimously approved. Is there any miscellaneous business tonight? Okay, seeing no further business, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, this has been a terrific meeting. I want to thank everybody for their participation. We started early at 6:30. It's 9:05. I wish everybody a wonderful evening. Thank you. Good night.
5
Thank you,
minutes,
Laura.
the
Thank
earliest
you.
we've ever been late.
Good night.
Good evening.
Yeah, I don't want to see this.